So let's talk about the chloride issue. Remember this? If you went to the sanitation district meeting, this was their chart. I don't know where that is. You remember my pictures of the river? Didn't look like that. It was the river was underground, and so we followed this. You know, that's part of the. I think that's part of the problem with that people kind of tend to be concerned about us, because when they tell us something, we go back and ask the questions again. So as you remember, this also happens to be a sanitation district chart. It said that the state set a legal limit of 100 milligrams per liter for chloride and compliance deadlines, which is not quite, it's sort of true, but it's not quite true, because it was our regional water board. And the Saugus and Valencia water reclamation plants did not meet that limit. And that we got a notice of violation in May of 2011, and you've seen it. And we must comply or face substantial fines, and we've had all those discussions. But they provided this schedule. Now, I went back and looked at it because when I remember in the meeting, the point of that schedule that I was very interested in was that arrow facing up in the middle of July. And you see it says public meetings. We're in the middle of July. But I noticed something else that kind of struck me too, because I didn't realize it. That says that the EIR, the preliminary EIR, was supposed to be available in June. Right? Well, that's not what they told us. And by the way, that's not what they say on their website. So this is part of it when I look at things like just like I do in the city, and I see one person tell me one thing and I hear another person tell me another. It's just disconcerting that they don't have that act together. So this is posted on their website. It was posted in April. It says preparation of the draft EIR and facilities plan is underway, and the documents are scheduled for release in July of 2012. So this schedule is not accurate. And multiple public meetings will be held in Santa Clarita following release of the draft EIR, and a 60-day comment period will provide additional opportunity for public input. Okay, you know what? I believed them when they told me that. And we were told that if we had any questions, to contact Miss Mary Jacobs. Mary Jacobs was at the sanitation district meeting. She's a nice lady, and she's in charge of that activity. So, me being me, and it being in the middle of July, I sent them an email. Said, guys, just checking to see how things are going. When Basil presented to us in May, the schedule provided showed public meetings being held to review and comment on the preliminary EIR in mid-July. Since that time is upon us, I thought it would be appropriate to ask for an update relative to the status of those outreach activities, because I'm waiting for them to come back. I just can't wait. And looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for the help. And actually, those guys were pretty nice to me. They're pretty nice to us. They came out here. They're, again, people who just do work. But since there was only 2 days to this meeting, I didn't want to wait for an email. So I called them. Called up, got Mary in the morning on Monday, and said, Mary, how's things going? And I got, surprise! We're not going to have it ready. The EIR schedule is currently in flux. This is what she told me. Schedule for the preliminary EIR has been pushed back. Those are her words. The EIR will not be released in July, and the cause is the sanitation district staff's concern over comments and their desire to ensure that all comments are addressed. So that's interesting. And I asked her, when do you think this might happen? Got a new date? And the answer is, I'll get back with you. So something's going on. Something's going on. And when those kind of things start to happen, I start to wonder, and I'm sure you can remember this, that there was a sanitation district survey that was sent out by Promark Research Corporation on behalf of the sanitation district. Some of you got the phone calls, and they basically ask you, how much are you willing to pay us to go do this kind of work. Now, if this is really a requirement and they can't get out of it, why are they asking, right? Well, where did the survey come from? And a lot of this stuff, information came from a public records request that was put in by one of our members, and he forwarded to me a large packet of information. On October the 11th, 2011, the Sanitation District published a request for proposal for soliciting firms familiar with our valley to conduct public outreach with activities related to the Sanitation District's facilities needed to meet the chloride discharge requirement. But when you look at it, it says it plainly. The RFP was not openly advertised. They didn't put it in the paper and say, hey, anybody that wants to come here that thinks they can meet these requirements, give me a response? No. It was emailed to 5 pre-selected candidates on October the 19th with a due date of October the 28th. But you know what? I'm going to show you the annotated chart, the annotated page, where the guys all talked about when they talked to everybody that they were dealing with. And it just happened that there was a heads-up phone call to Esther Ferdman of Community Conservation Solutions on October the 17th, 2 days before they released the RFP. But we'll show you that. So it's not that we don't have the request for proposal. I have the whole thing. I read it. One of the things about the proposal that it said was that it is a requirement of this proposal that you identify who's going to do the work and all subcontractors that you use. Now, not only do I have the request for proposal, I have the response from the person that was selected to do the job. Promark was not there. They didn't reference them at all. They weren't the people that were supposed to do the job. And when this one member of ours contacted the sanitation district and asked, and he said, well, he was only the chief engineer. He said, you know what, we didn't really have to, but they did, according to the information. So this comes out of that packet of information from the sanitation district. This is where it comes from. And you can see they started annotating down there a little bit of notes of when they called everybody. Well, you know what? The proposal came out on the 19th, but someone gets a heads up 2 days early. Interesting. So on November the 9th, at the November 9th Sanitation Board meeting, the county supervisors were absent. There was only 2 directors there. One was Director West, and one was Director McLean. And they authorized an expenditure of $350,000 of that, I'm hoping it's of that $22 million that they borrowed, to hire Community Conservation Solutions to provide the public outreach activities. Now, I raised this issue at City Council meeting, but I only had 3 minutes to do it. But today, I got enough so that you'll understand what's going on when I go through it. That agenda item passed with Director West recusing herself because she was on the board of directors of Community Conservation Solutions. My gosh, how interesting is that? So, who are they? Who are Community Conservation Solutions? Going to the internet and searching on that company, man, instantly brought up that website. They used to be called, and they used to be part of, Community Conservation Solutions International. And there is other companies around the country that call themselves Community Conservation Solutions. The one in Florida still comes up on your website. But anyway, it turns out it's a nonprofit corporation, not primarily concerned with public outreach and polling, but an organization which advertises dechannelizing rivers and returning them to their natural state. Now, I got to tell you what. If that's your position, and that's what you think is the right thing to do, there's nothing wrong with that. I believe that everybody, no matter what their positions on ecology, on construction, on whatever it is, have a right to get up and tell us what their position is. But why would you hire somebody that's already predetermined to give you an answer? I thought that was a very interesting question. So here's the Community Conservation Solutions website, the front page of their website. And it goes through and it talks about the fact that Esther Ferdman is the principal. Adlai Lieberman is a partner. Remember that name. You'll hear it again in a minute. And Lorraine West is a director on the board of directors. Interesting. Well, also, there was another page right behind it. Because, I wouldn't be satisfied with just looking at one page. We'll go through and we'll look at them all. And I found that there was a special event at that point that was to be hosted by a gentleman as a tribute to Esther Ferdman. Now, that's all well and good. And this is only the top of that particular page. But if you went down the page, what you would find is that this is really not a tribute. This is it's billed as a tribute, but it's a fundraiser. And when you go down, you look at all the people that contribute money. And at the time that they were saying they were going to do this, they were already had pledges for $125,000 to this tribute. Plus, if you wanted to go, you got to pay $150 a plate for dinner. Probably must be real good food. Well, let's see now. The event was, chairing the event, what a surprise, was Zeb Yaroslavsky. Wow, how amazing. And guess who else was there? Fran Diamond and Madeline Glickman, both current members of the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board. How strange that we're all palling around together. Listed as event host was Adlai Lieberman, one of Community Conservation's partners and main contractors, and Ms. West, council member from the city of Santa Clarita. So when we go to the council meetings and we hear about the evil Regional Water Board, at the same time, these people are all consorting together and doing things together. They must know each other. Well, what's going on? So here's a partial list of contributors. Well, you know what? Adlai Lieberman, he got a whole bunch of money out of this $350,000, so he's going to kick $5,000 back for this tribute. And lo and behold, the city of Santa Clarita threw in $1,000. Anybody ever see a council agenda that said, let's contribute $1,000 to Community Conservation Solutions? Nah, probably didn't happen. Oh, look, Fran Diamond's contributing money, and so is Madeline Glickfield. Anybody think that all these people don't know each other and have similar feelings about the way they want things to go? And what did the city of Santa Clarita get for their $1,000? Well, they got 2 free dinners. And it's a wonder. I wonder who went. So let's put this all together. When I did this, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I really did. I thought what I should do is wear a gray suit, right? And pretend that I was, the gray-haired lawyer that was always on television, remember? He just died. Huh? Matlock. I felt like Matlock. I felt like I was going to go get up in front of the audience, and I was going to go, and I was hoping that there'd be someone here in the witness chair to confess at the end. So let's put this in, put it all together. We have city council members, and our city council members sit on the sanitation board. We know from the last meeting when Mayor Ferry was here, he doesn't think it's important enough to go to all the meetings. Oh, hey, they only take 5 or 6. I don't want to drive all the way down there. I'll let someone else do it. He's not very concerned about it. So we end up with the same people we had on it before our mayor became a mayor, and we have Ms. West and Ms. McLean. And the sanitation board, who are our council members, fund $350,000. Wow, that's wonderful. For public outreach program to Community Conservation Solutions, which has one of our council members as a director. Oh, how cool. And guess what? Community Conservation Solutions hires a subcontractor, Adlai Stevenson and Associates, and they get a big share of this amount to generate a public outreach plan, okay? So they kick back $5,000 to fundraiser, chaired by 2 members of the Regional Quality Water Control Board, and in part by, and hosted in part by one of our city council members from the city of Santa Clarita, and the city of Santa Clarita is contributing money to the event. Does this sound too chummy to you? I know. I felt like Matlock when we were doing this. So now that you know that, let's jump to the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Santa Clarita Valley Sanitation District held at the Sanitation District office on June 13th. I would have told you about the July meeting, but they canceled it. So this was the last meeting that they held. Present, my gosh, look, there are those names again. Right? There are those names again. There's Marcia, there's Lorraine, and there's Zeb. They're all there together. Well, prior to going into regular session, Director West addressed the board and submitted the following statement. I'm only going to give you an excerpt out of it because it was extremely long-winded. But it says, from the very beginning of this salt and sewage issue, the goal of the city shares with the sanitation districts is to find the least costly project possible that meets state requirements. I thought 2 years ago we told them, no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to find alternatives. But, yep, that's not what they're doing now because they want to protect us from unreasonable state fines. That's good. I like that. And then she said she wanted to make sure that at least the following items are a part of the analysis. Reverse osmosis. Okay? From deep well injection to a pipeline for handling the brine. I wish she would have included, how about a pipeline for handling the wastewater? Remember that the plan to use reverse osmosis and build a pipeline to the ocean was the $500 million plan. Remember that? And the one with deep well injection was the $250 million plan. The last proposed, this was something that I was really amazed with. The last proposed compromise, remember this is word for word, the last proposed compromise between the Santa Clarita Valley Sanitation District, the farmers, and the state was simply too costly and did not make sense. What is she talking about? Was this the A-worm? Was this the idea of blending water? Wasn't this the blending water plan? Right? Am I right? Well, that's too costly. I never heard of cost. I keep hearing things like, oh, if we build this, it costs too much. How much does it cost? Well, it's too much. Okay? So here, that plan was too much. But still, where is it back there? But still, they wanted them to look at alternate water sources to blend with water, leaving a sewage treatment plant. That's what I thought the proposed compromise was. So I don't understand. This just doesn't make sense. So here comes some interesting questions at the end. These are interesting questions in the meeting. Director McLean asked, is it appropriate to use one of the alternatives, possible legislation that would take into account averaging? Now, why I think that's an interesting question is because she's asking that of the Sanitation District Council. And the sanitation, and we went to our city council and said, wait a minute, since you guys are on the sanitation district, can you take action to try to get us some legislative relief? And they went, oh no, you're in the wrong place. You got to go down to the sanitation district because we can't do anything. We don't have purview over that. I don't believe it. Now they're asking the same question at the sanitation board. And what does the sanitation district attorney say? Well, he advised that the city of Santa Clarita should discuss it with its own legal counsel. So here we got our city council saying, oh, go talk to them. And they're saying, go talk to us. Interesting. Well, this is the cover sheet of the public engagement plan. I just want you to know I read it. It was excellent. And I tell you, they actually have one really great idea. They did give us some good advice. They want to respond to inquiries and correct misinformation. So they listed all of the important things that they should go look at. And I agree with them completely. They better look at the Canyon Country Advisory Committee and see what in fact our videos are saying, and they do. So that kind of sums up that issue. You can see all the players. You can see that I'm worried about it because it seems like there's some self-interest going on. It seems like there's some hidden agendas that people are working, and it just doesn't seem like they're interested in us. Yes, sir.
Has a thought been given to refer it to the Los Angeles County grand jury?
Uh,
Just a thought.
That's a thought. Yes. Yes, it is.
I don't know how much the grand jury could do if Councilmember West recuses herself in a vote. Then there kind of isn't a conflict of interest, is there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a conflict of interest. I mean, it depends upon if she recuses herself from the vote. That says, from a standpoint of the FPPC, that she would not be guilty of a conflict of interest on the vote. That doesn't mean that she's not guilty of conflict of interest on the activities.
Well, the whole RFP is out of order because when you issue an RFP, you are not allowed to discuss that before it's released, having sat on some RFPs. So that is also a terrible conflict to notify somebody ahead of time about that. There's a whole bunch of issues in what you just presented.
Right. When I brought this up at the council meeting, like I said, I only had 3 minutes to go through it, and what they jumped on was the idea of that it wasn't inappropriate to attend the tribute. And it probably wasn't inappropriate to attend it. But certainly to run it, to manage it, and to arrange it is a different question. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I got to tell you what. Remember, we talked about it before. Sanitation, stormwater, sewer. Those are the three elements that come together. They all have to do with the regional water board, Regional Quality Water Board. And it looks like sewer is going up and sanitation is going up. And the question is going to be how high. So when they come out, I want to see, when they come out with that EIR, the main thing I want to see is I want to see some of the alternates. And the one alternate that we talked about and proposed was, you know what, don't build a pipeline to the joint outfall system just to dump in brine. Brine is 20% of the water that you treat. You lose 20% of it as brine. Put it all in there. Okay, and then we don't have to go with reverse osmosis. We don't have to change from our chlorinated disinfection. And if the residents want to, they can go back and use regenerating water softeners because the water's going in the ocean and it's already salty.